Right now, governments collect over $5 trillion in taxes every single year, just in the United States alone. $5 trillion. But here's what nobody's telling you. The first people who invented taxes, they made you pay with your urine. I'm not joking. Ancient Rome literally taxed human pee, and that's just the beginning of this insane story. For 5,000 years, governments have been taking your money and your livestock, your brooms, even your squirrel scalps. Let me show you exactly what's really happening. Here's the key most people miss. Taxes are older than money itself. Think about that. Ancient Egypt started taxing people around 3000 BC, and coins hadn't even been invented yet. So how did they do it? The pharaohs created something terrifying. They taxed you on crops you hadn't even grown yet. They built these devices called nilometers that measured the Nile's flood levels. High water? They predicted a good harvest and jacked up your taxes before you planted a single seed. Low water? Slightly lower taxes, but you still paid. You were literally paying taxes on imaginary grain. But Egypt wasn't the strangest. Let me show you what happened in ancient Mesopotamia around 2000 BC. There's an actual record of a man who paid his entire tax bill with 18,880 brooms. 18,000 brooms and 6 logs. That was his tax payment. Another guy claimed he owned nothing except massive millstones. So heavy, the tax collector couldn't even lift them. So he made the tax man haul them away as payment. Absolute genius. Here's what nobody tells you about Rome. Emperor Vespasian figured out the most valuable untapped resource in his entire empire: human urine. Romans used pee for everything: tanning leather, whitening clothes, even cleaning their teeth. So Vespasian slapped a tax on every public urinal in the city. When his own son complained that taxing pee was disgusting, Vespasian held up a gold coin and said the line that's famous to this day: "Money doesn't stink." Now, here's where it gets darker. As civilizations grew, governments realized something crucial. They needed your money to build armies, construct monuments, and maintain control. And they'd tax absolutely anything to get it. Let me show you what England did in 1696. They created the window tax. Sounds innocent, right? Wrong. The government decided that rich people had bigger houses with more windows, so they'd tax every single window in your home. Predictably, people started bricking up their windows to avoid the tax. Entire families lived in darkness for over 150 years. No sunlight, terrible ventilation, disease spreading, all because of a tax. The window tax wasn't repealed until 1851. But wait, it gets weirder. Russia's Czar Peter the Great hated beards. He thought they made Russia look backward compared to Western Europe. So in the 1700s, he didn't ban beards, he taxed them. If you wanted to keep your facial hair, you had to pay the government and carry around a special beard token as proof of payment. Imagine getting stopped on the street. License and beard registration, please. Here's the thing most historians won't tell you. These weren't just random acts of insanity. Every bizarre tax reveals something deeper about power and control. The French salt tax, the gabelle, started in the 14th century and became so hated that it literally helped spark the French Revolution. Poor farmers had to buy minimum quotas of salt they couldn't afford. The hat tax in Britain from 1784 to 1811 required retailers to glue revenue stamps inside every hat they sold. The wallpaper tax of 1712 made decorating your home a crime unless you paid up. So people bought plain wallpaper and painted patterns themselves to avoid it. Here's what they don't want you to discover. Taxes have started more revolutions than almost any other issue in human history. The American Revolution, everyone thinks it was about taxation without representation. That's partially true, but here's the real story. The Stamp Act of 1765 taxed colonists on dice, playing cards, newspapers, even legal documents. The British government was reaching into every aspect of daily life, taking money without giving colonists any voice. The colonists didn't just protest, they turned violent. They burned stamps, attacked tax collectors' homes, and within a year, Britain backed down and repealed it. But they didn't learn their lesson. Then came the Tea Act of 1773. This wasn't really a tax increase, it was worse. Britain gave the East India Company a monopoly on tea sales, meaning colonists had to buy from them and pay the tax. The result? The Boston Tea Party. Colonists, dressed as Native Americans, boarded 3 ships and dumped 342 chests of tea worth millions in today's money straight into Boston Harbor. That single act of rebellion against a tax sparked a war that created the United States. Let me show you something even more revealing. In India's Mauryan Empire, around 300 BC, they held annual competitions where citizens could propose solutions to government problems. Win the competition? You got tax amnesty for life. Complete freedom from taxes. Forever, if your idea was good enough. That's how desperate governments were to keep citizens cooperative. Now here's where the story gets really interesting. How did we get from paying taxes with brooms and beats to modern income tax? The United States didn't even have a federal income tax until 1861. They created it to fund the Civil War. Rates ranged from 3 to 10%. But here's the twist. They repealed it in 1872. For 23 years, Americans paid 0 federal income tax. Then, in 1895, the Supreme Court declared income tax unconstitutional. That forced Congress to pass the 16th Amendment in 1913, permanently giving the government the power to tax your income. World War II changed everything. Suddenly, governments needed massive amounts of money fast. The US top tax rate shot above 90%. 90% for the highest earners. Britain introduced a system called pay as you earn in 1944, where your employer automatically deducts taxes from your paycheck before you even see the money. That system is still used today. They figured out how to take your money before you can think about it. Here's the key that changes everything. Taxation isn't just about collecting money. It's about social engineering. Modern governments use taxes to control behavior. Want people to smoke less? Slap a massive tax on cigarettes. Want more people married? Some places tried bachelor taxes. Want clean energy? Offer tax breaks for solar panels. Governments have discovered that taxation is the most powerful tool for shaping how society behaves. And the crazy taxes never stopped. In New York right now, there's an 8-cent bagel cutting tax. If your bagel is sliced or toasted, you pay extra. In California, buying fruit from a vending machine incurs a 33% tax. Alabama had a 10-cent tax on playing cards that lasted until 2015. So why do taxes actually exist? Here's what nobody tells you. Every government, from ancient Egypt to modern America, faces the same problem. They need resources to function. Armies, roads, courts, schools, hospitals. None of these build themselves. The challenge has always been, how do you extract resources from citizens without causing a rebellion? The answer has evolved over 5,000 years. Early civilizations taxed harvests and livestock because that's what people had. As money developed, governments shifted to taxing coins and currency. In modern times, they've discovered something more efficient. Taxing income before you receive it. Taxing purchases every time you buy something. Taxing property you already own. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Taxes are the price of civilization. Without them, you get no police, no fire departments, no education system, no infrastructure. But here's the other uncomfortable truth. The history of taxation is also a history of government overreach, citizen resistance, and the eternal struggle between those with power and those without it. The strangest part? We've collectively agreed to this system. We accept that governments will take a portion of what we earn because the alternative is complete chaos, is worse. But the moment taxes become too burdensome or too unfair, history shows us exactly what happens. From the French Revolution to the Boston Tea Party to countless smaller uprisings, people eventually say, enough. 5,000 years of human civilization, and we're still arguing about the same thing our ancestors did. How much is too much, who should pay, and what's fair? The ancient Egyptians paid with grain. The Romans paid with pea. Medieval Europeans paid with windows and beards. We pay with percentages of our income. The methods change, but the fundamental bargain remains the same. Governments provide services and protection, and we pay for them. The only question that matters is whether that bargain feels fair. Because when it doesn't, when people feel cheated, controlled, or exploited, history tells us exactly what happens next. And that's the real lesson from 5,000 years of bizarre taxes. Fairness matters more than the amount. People will tolerate high taxes if they believe the system is just. But tax their urine, their beards, their sunlight? Eventually, they rebel.